Hello, and everybody. I'm Mayor Hendrick, and welcome to another session of Good Day Lynbrook. And my guest today is Assemblyman Brian Curran. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. How
Good
are
to
you?
Very good, thank you. And thanks for coming on the show.
No, and thank you for inviting me. And can I just start off by saying that I love what you've done with my office?
Thank you. No, it's my office now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, you forgot. You're not coming back, brother. Having said that, I want to congratulate you for another on-time budget in the state. And I know it was very hard to work on, and you came through. So tell me about that.
You know what, Mr. Mayor, let me tell you, we left here 4 years ago. And I always thought that I had a very good timing in life. But unfortunately, when I left the village, I went up to the state when it was $10 billion in the hole.
Right.
And that was, I think it was about 15 years before that they actually had an on-time budget. Since that time, for the last 4 years, I think we made tough fiscal choices up in the state that's benefited the people of the state by getting our books in order. This year, we're actually the governor has projected a surplus. And
I heard that. That's
very
good.
And we've also passed the budget on time for the last 4 years. And I think it's, you know, I think the state's moving in the right direction. We have a lot more work to do, especially with regards to our finances and on things that we could be doing that makes life better for the residents.
Yeah, I know you very well. You do everything you can for your constituents. So it's a good job you've done, and the on-time budget is fantastic.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, you know, it's funny, you know, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that's watching this program, you know, how well me and you know each other and how much we're fond of each other. But you know, since we started talking about leaving here and going up to the state, I have to tell you, you know, it was made much easier knowing that I was leaving this place, not only my office, but this village in your hands.
Because I really think appreciate that.
No, because I think you've done an excellent job, and I think you're going to go down as one of the best mayors of this village ever.
It's about you today.
No, not really.
People, I think, should thank you. This has been the highest amount of aid that the school districts have gotten, and I want to ask you about one, the Common Cause, and the Newsday quote that went to you about being the highest aid. I have a picture of that. I'd like to bring that out because it really is great, and I'll show it to you again, even though you're involved with it. It's here. Where you say, best going on, Long Island schools get the most state aid since the recession.
Yeah, and you know what? Listen, I have to start off by saying, you know, and I appreciate the comment, but you know, when I said that the state is moving in a better direction in the last 4 years, there's one person running around this state that's saying that he's the cause of it, and that's the governor, and he had something to do with it. But I will tell you that we're lucky in this area because the real person that's actually responsible for the biggest changes in this state is Senator Dean Skelos. I mean, he is the head of the Senate, and he has pushed a fiscally conservative message in the Senate since they took over 4 years ago.
He's our titular government.
He really is, and he's the guy who got our books back in order, and he dragged the Assembly, you know, along for the ride to make sure that our books got back in order. And because of that, and because of the tough decisions that we had to make the first 2 years, we were able to give more state aid to Nassau County schools this year than in the last 12 years, which is huge. Because I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm most proud of since coming into Albany was the passage of the tax cap. And again, that was an idea that was pushed by the Senate majority and Dean Skelos and the minority in the Assembly. And because we understood people here in Lynbrook, they're having a tough time with property taxes, and they were getting to the point where people were getting forced out of their homes, and we can't let that happen. I mean, that's what makes Lynbrook a great place.
I know.
So we passed this tax cap, but the school districts were saying that it was limiting their income to provide a good education, and what we always thought that the tax cap could work as long as the state provides additional state aid, and this year we did that, and you know, we're doing best of both worlds. We're giving tax relief for the property owners and the homeowners, but at the same time we're still giving a great education to our kids.
And of course, you say it helps with the taxes. The people don't realize, some of them, that when the school taxes are down, they pay less to the school. Therefore, their tax bill reduces overall.
Yeah, and we have to also be clear. I mean, we always say this. You know, people here in Lynbrook, 68% of their overall tax bill is the school taxes.
Sure.
And it's not village and it's not county.
No.
It's certainly not state, which is income tax. But that is the area that we had to address. And because we addressed it, we actually have to now figure out ways to give fiscal aid to the school districts, to give them a little flexibility to make sure that the education is good. This is the funny thing about it is Dean Skelos is the person that has been in Albany to make sure for the last 20 years that Nassau County school districts receive their fair share. And he has been the person out front making sure that they do. And you know, the budget process is the budget process, and every single year we have whoever the governor may have been. But I know under my 4 years, Governor Cuomo always comes out with a budget that shortchanges Nassau County schools.
Yeah.
And that's under the formula because they consider us rich here.
Yeah.
And it's always Dean Skelos that goes back in
Fights
there
them.
and fights and gets more additional funding for Nassau County
He's
schools.
a great senator.
He really
a
is.
great
He
senator.
really is. And I've been lucky to actually work under him.
And you go up with him and you learn from him. And,
Absolutely.
You learned a lot, and you're very active. We are very proud of you as a hometown son.
Thank you, Billy.
I want to say that.
But one of the biggest educational issues, in addition to the aid, you talked about it, was Common Core.
Well, you know, I'm going to bring that up next. My boys really support you, both the teachers, and they say no Common Core. Get it
Yeah.
out of here. So go ahead, tell us about it.
You know, for everybody at home that don't know about Common Core, and I don't think that's too many people because I got to tell you,
Just
know,
don't talk about
every
it.
single parent knows about it. You know, Common Core is a set educational standards throughout the country, and it was presented by the federal government under President Obama, and it was actually implemented through Race to the Top monies. And what it does is it sets a certain standard, which is a good thing. It's standards that expect more from our kids in learning, expects more from our teachers in teaching, which is good things. However, the way that they implement it, the way they rolled it out, and also the pressures associated with it here in New York State when they tied those new standards to new testing requirements and the evaluations of the teachers, it wasn't fair to our kids. It was putting too much pressure on them, and plus there are so many problems with the Common Core that was handed down, especially that they don't make accommodations for ESL students with English as their second language, and
Sure,
also special
sure.
ed students. And there's things that have to be done, and Albany was slow to react. And I have to tell you, here in Lynbrook and in this area, Rockville Center and in East Rockaway, the parents were stellar. They were on this early. They
Yeah.
started a grassroots movement that has made it all the way up to Albany. And you're starting to see movement on changing Common Core for the better. We're not there yet. There's a lot more, and I would love to see it actually done away with completely and replaced with a couple of different plans that are floating up there. But at least we're doing things for the
You
kids.
have. And by the way, I congratulate you for getting the Common Core parents involved by your booklet. That's probably still available if they want it. And it tells all about Common Core, and
Yep.
you visit the schools as usual, all over your district, not only in Lynbrook, but I only care about Lynbrook.
And I don't blame you.
But East Rockaway, Baldwin, Malvern,
Yep.
Rockville Center, all over the place. You're in the schools all the time.
Well, and the funny thing about it is, as I said, that the grassroots started, you know, on the local level, and Lynbrook and Rockville Center. Here's the fact that actually shows that the first year that Common Core was implemented, Rockville Center led the state in opt-outs to the tests that were associated with Common Core, and this year it's been a steady rise both in Rockville Center and Lynbrook. So parents are making a stand, and I just want them to know that I'm with them, and that, you know, we're going to continue to fight to the point where either Common Core is acceptable and works for our kids, or we do away with it completely.
Sure.
That's
a
it's
great idea. My
very
kids
simple.
would applaud you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Most of the teachers I talked to would too.
Yeah, the teachers were on board. We made a couple of moves in Albany towards the end of session in June that actually took away the bad ramifications of Common Core on the teacher evaluations, which made the teachers happy. But unfortunately, the kids are still
Kids are
taking the
still, yeah.
tests, and they still have to take the same amount of tests.
Sure.
So until we deal with that, then
You have a problem.
it's not done.
We have a problem.
Sure.
We're getting around the time. Well, it's about a year away, but we're used to seeing you bald at one point in time. Can you tell us about it's St. Baldrick's? It's for the awareness for the foundation to help children with cancer. Go ahead and tell us about it.
You know, it's a great charity, and again, you know, we were lucky enough to have that charity start here in Rockville Center in my district. And there was 3 individuals. One of them is a very good friend by the name of John Bender, who's a Rockville Center resident. They were actually sitting around after a golf outing, and that they wanted to figure out how they could give back to the community. And the three of them decided to start this charity where they would raise money for kids' cancer. And they came up with the idea of shaving their heads and getting donations for it. Now, I believe they're into the 15th year. This is my 13th year in doing it. And they have raised over, I believe, $150 million for kids' cancer. It is a great charity.
I think we have a picture of you getting your head shaved.
And I will tell the people at home, you know, who's watching this, you know, one of the funniest things that ever happened was when you were silly enough to decide to run with me when we were running for mayor, and we were sitting in a room, and it was coming close to election day in March, and one of the people who was on our election team looked at me, and I said that I was doing it. They said, "You couldn't do it. You look crazy."
You look crazy.
But we did it anyway, right?
And you won.
Yeah, we won. It was,
Lucky you.
Who was crazy?
They were. No, seriously. You always kept your hair short, so it wasn't much of a transition.
I'm not sure if that was a decision or not, Bill.
Oh, okay. Oh, my goodness. You've been very involved with legislation for the air traffic controlling, and we're near Kennedy, and we have a problem in this area because this is a route.
Right.
With all the, tell us what you're doing about that.
Well, let me ask you, Bill. Do you receive a lot of complaints from the residents about
at the board meetings?
Yes.
Every once in a while, I get 3 or 4, 5.
I have to tell you, we've been inundated in the last 2 years with complaints about the increase in air traffic over Lynbrook. And you know what? The funny thing about it is when those complaints start rolling in, we weren't sure if it was just because of the summertime months or if it was just people paying more attention to it. But the residents were absolutely right. After they started complaining, we were demanding numbers from the Port Authority and the FAA with regards to the amount of landings on the certain runway that has liftoffs and takeoffs that come over Lynbrook.
Oh, yeah.
And they were absolutely right. There was a recent Newsday article about a month ago that showed that the air traffic over Lynbrook and that channel 3 times the amount. So the residents are absolutely right. What we did in Albany is we have fought for a thing called a Part 150 study. And a Part 150 study requires a contractor or an independent engineer to come in and make proposals on how to limit the noise and the air traffic over certain communities within the area. Now, the Part 150 study is paid for through federal monies, and it comes up with a list of recommendations, and then the federal monies will then entice the airport or the Port Authority to adopt those recommendations so they actually implement it to decrease the noise.
Of course, when you pull money away, you get some action.
Absolutely. So what we're waiting to see is they're in the early stage of the Part 150 study. They're having the roundtables, which we're trying to be a part of, and trying to have community involvement. But we want to speed along the process because the people have been dealing with this issue for a long, long time, and we have to do something about it once and for all. And what's scary is that JFK is looking to expand.
Yeah, I heard that.
And if they're looking to expand, what troubles me is that there's going to be just that much more air traffic over Lynbrook.
There's almost so much room at JFK, the runways will be closer.
Yeah, and there's a lot of arguments. Listen, there's a lot of arguments to say that our runway, our air channel, is being over as opposed to others, and they're not divvying it up equally among the communities. And I think that's a legitimate concern, and I've raised it with the FAA and the Port Authority, and we have to continue to do so to make sure it's not to burden the other communities, but listen, our communities, we take our fair share, but you know what? The other communities, the other communities deserve their air traffic as much.
I'm sorry. Sometimes the citizens are in the house during the summer, have the air conditioning on, they don't hear it. But when they go outside with their kids at baseball games, look overhead. There's a lot of planes going over Lynbrook. So I thank you for your efforts. Okay, Brian, you and Senator Skelos have secured about $23,000 for our roads. Can you tell me a little about that?
Sure, and Billy, you out of anybody know how tough this last winter was, and every single year through the state budget we allocate certain monies for all the local municipalities for roadway work. It's called CHIPS money. That money is there, and it's based upon a formula, and you get that amount. This year, seeing the problem that we've had in the winter. And I know I participated in one of your town halls down here about
Sure.
a month ago, and one of the first questions that you received was,
Roads.
what are we doing about the potholes? And the state stepped in. They created a new emergency fund, and out of that new emergency fund, the village is getting close to $25,000 to $30,000 more in extra roadway repair money, which is good. You know what? It's needed to be done, and it has to be done. And I'm glad that's one of the good things that Albany's done this year.
Well, I know that question that you talk about went to you and Tony Santino first, so I felt blessed that I was the third one he asked about it. But
And I have to tell you, I jumped right in because that was one of the rare questions where I could say Albany did something right.
you did. Most of CHIPS money went down every year, but you made it go up for us this year, correct?
Yeah, through that emergency fund, but also, Billy, it's important that you point that out because that's just another ramification of what we were able to do in the first 2 years in making those tough fiscal decisions and getting us out of the hole that we were. We're through the tunnel, we're seeing the light, we're actually now our books are fixed, and we're going to be able to do things that we were not able to do in years before because we've cleaned up our finances.
Very good.
Yes.
Brian, I know you participate in the triathlon. That's for the wounded warriors and the firefighters of Nassau County, correct?
Yeah, we're actually in our fourth year
Wow.
of doing it. We raise money for, this year we're raising money for the Nassau County Firefighters Project Wounded Warrior, which
Right.
is, which is a fantastic charity. It's headed up by former Fire Department Chief Kevin Bean
Kevin.
here in Lynbrook, and also Steve Grogan has a very big part to play. We raise money by donations for me completing the triathlon. This year we're participating in the Town of Oyster Bay triathlon, and I think it's in late August.
Okay.
And I believe if we keep with our current amounts that we've been taking in the last few years, this year we should be going over $12,000 raised for Wounded Warriors in our 4 years, which is a good thing because listen, if you can't raise money for your veterans, who can you raise it for? That's the people that we should be taking care of.
Do me a favor, Brian.
And I have to tell you, you can always get in on the pool with my family. There's always an under or over if I'm
Me in the pool
yeah,
or just
no,
betting on you?
in the betting pool
Well, thank
to see
you.
if we're actually
I'd do
going to
that,
drown in
I'd
this,
bet on that too.
in the swim part.
Brian, take a minute to explain what a triathlon is.
You know, it is a three-phase race where you run. You start off swimming, and the swim is 3/4 of a mile. The run is then actually it's a bike that's about 12 miles, and then the run is about 4 miles.
All right, we'll root for you. all
Thank you
along
very
the way.
much. And listen, more importantly, root for that. We raise a lot of money for the veterans.
Sure, that's the best thing. I'm going to root for you too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Last, I wanted to say before we go away, I want to congratulate you on the birth of your fourth child, your
Yes.
third son, correct?
Yes.
That's Logan Barney. And how old is he now?
He is a little bit over 4 months.
4 months.
And I have to tell you,
let's take a look at him.
I have to tell you, Billy, he is the best baby out of all 4 of them, and I love all 4 of them.
I know you do.
But but I will tell you, he sleeps through the night. He always has a sunny disposition. He's just like you.
Yeah,
he
I know.
always has a sunny disposition.
Some of this in there,
and
but I sleep during the day.
so
Here's a picture we want to show everybody at home. That's your Logan.
yes, and thank God he got his mother's looks.
He did, and he
He
also
did.
he has your hat on, doesn't he?
Yeah, yes, usually, and my shirt and shorts.
It's a little tight on him. Oh my goodness. I'm going to say goodbye, Brian, and I just would like to thank you from all the seniors, the residents, the veterans. You work hard for them, and I want to thank you again.
Thank you, Billy. And if I can, first and foremost, as a resident of Lynbrook, thank you for everything that you do. Make this place a great place. And if I can, just thank everybody at home. I mean, I have to tell you, I was mayor here, and I was lucky to be it. And it was a dream job to be mayor of the place that you were born and you grew up in. And and the very same people gave me the opportunity to go represent them up in Albany. So for that, I just want to thank everybody. And again, Billy, you're doing a fantastic job. And thank you.
I enjoy the job too.
Thank you.
Thanks again. you.